As your resident favorite Clocktower storyteller and somebody who thinks about this game far, far, far too much, I like to get my opinions out there on my thoughts on the balance and how well designed every Clocktower character is. And I'm going to rank them in order. The criteria that we're going to be going off of for this list is, first of all, how fun is the character to play? No matter how well the rest of the things work with the character, this is the most important single piece. Secondly, how well is the character balanced? Is the character horribly overpowered at certain instances? Are they fun to play on most scripts? Third, how can I, the game maker, use it to balance the game? If characters are allow me ability to balance the game well, that is good. This does not mean giving me decisions, but allowing me to do things like how the drunk allows me to give certain bad information or worse bad information. Four, capacity for good moments. These are moments where people are like, oh my god, or oh, that's crazy. These are actually valued very highly, and I think it creates a very fun experience. Five is the ability to fit on lots of scripts. This is highly important um, because if a character is awesome and fun to play, but cannot function outside of their original script, it's going to dock them a lot because you don't get to play with them. And six is for personal reasons, things that are funny, things I like, things I don't like. Onto the list. Starting off, we're going to have some honorable mentions. First of all, we have these four characters that are not mechanically viable. The Moonchild, you cannot force them to pick a character. The Butler, you cannot force them to vote with them. The Golem, you cannot force them to not nominate again. And the Zealot, you cannot force to vote. All four of these characters can be fun, can be good in certain circumstances, but I will almost never put them onto scripts. And if I do, it has to be a script with a bunch of people that I'm playing with a bunch of people that all love the game and are quite good. Next is the group of characters that is the only thing to talk about if they are on the script. If the heretic is on the script, every discussion goes, we should do this. Unless it's a heretic, the atheist goes, we should do this. Unless it's an atheist game, Legion goes, we should do this. Unless it's Legion. And Yagababel and Mephistopheles, I actually quite like. I've put these on a decent number of scripts, but when they're on a script, the entire good team has to think, what is a weird word people have been saying? Which I think is just simply not the best gameplay experience. Lastly is the only one demons. The Leviathan and Alhad are both amazing demons. I love these characters. I play with them frequently. However, it's very hard to justify these characters being on a scripts where they are not the only demon, because then it's like, okay, you know it's an Alhad game, or you know it's not an Alhad game. Same with the Leviathan. Next, we're moving on to the D tier. These are the characters that I think are horribly unbalanced, unfun to play with, cause significant game problems, or just aren't good. At number 128, lowest character on the list is the Vizier. I don't actually hate the Vizier all that much. Honestly, it could have been higher in F tier. All the characters in F tier all kind of suck equally. But the Vizier, the fact that you have a known player can be very fun for that player and for the group. However, oftentimes it is a weird interaction, and players don't necessarily like being the center of attention as the Vizier. At number 127, we have the Wraith. The Wraith is the worst character in the game, actually. The Wraith sucks so bad. It is simply horrible to balance. It encourages people to puts the idea of cheating in their heads, which is already just the worst thing. It's a fucking dexterity check. Don't put a dexterity check in my role-playing game, all right? Next, on to 126, we have the Psychopath. The Psychopath is also a dexterity check, which is a huge F tier for me. I also just don't like it when they're in play. Like, people are just, what the fuck is going on? If the Psychopath got to use their ability like twice or something, it could easily be redone and reworked to be better, but I just don't like this character. Number 125, we have the Riot. Riot is not very fun. It's fun to do one time, and then you'll never play with the Riot again. So I guess it's not the worst thing ever, but it's bad. Number 124, we have the Witch Doctor. I, as the runner of the game, am not a player in the game, and though I make certain decisions to make the game more fun for players, I do not want to actively be making choices. I have too much power, I have too much knowledge, I know where everything is going on. Number 123, we have the Bomb Brady. Bomb Brady sucks so fucking bad. There's not a single fun experience the Bomb Brady can have with people. But, it's here. The Boffin. The Boffin falls into a group of characters that I do not like very much, except for one, that steal abilities from other characters. I think that oftentimes these are hard to communicate to players, especially new-time players. And even though you can just say, well, put these on advanced scripts, sometimes advanced players don't even know what the fuck is going on. The amount of roles that the Boffin can give to the demon is somewhat limited in roles that are actually important or effective. Next, we have the Poppy Grower. I don't like running the Poppy Grower. I don't like doing this shit. Philosopher. I don't like running the Philosopher. I don't like the back-end stuff. This is going to be a trend for the next few. The Magician. I don't love the Magician. I don't like how it works. I think that a lot of times newer players don't understand that, oh shit, that's the wrong amount of minions, and so they just go and tell their minions, and then the game ends. The cannibal, I don't like when people get new abilities. The cannibal is weird. The cannibal falls into a group of a few other characters that is blank character but with extra abilities. This is the Undertaker with extra abilities, and ultimately I don't like that very much. The alchemist, another character that gains abilities. I don't really like it. I also think that most minion abilities are either far too powerful or almost entirely useless. Little Monster is just not very fun for me to run on the back end. A lot of players don't understand how it works. Maybe some of these are because I play with a somewhat inexperienced playgroup, but I do not like these characters. The Shabaloth. I love the Shabaloth. This is so hard for me to place in F tier because I love this character so much. However, ultimately, the Shabaloth cannot function on almost any scripts. It is almost impossible to hide as a player. It is up to the storyteller whether or not I want to fuck over the Shabaloth or not, whether or not if they're bluffing as certain things. I just have too much, as the storyteller, I have too much control over the game when there's a Shabaloth in play, and it's not the most fun to play. But I do love the Shabaloth still. Next is the Huntsman. The Huntsman sucks. The Damsel is an awesome character, but the Huntsman just is basically a nothing townsfolk. It is either an actively detrimental or nothing townsfolk, which sucks. The King / Choir Boy. I've ranked these two together. I think they're both very cool and well-designed ideas and characters, but there's too much weirdness that goes on with these characters, and especially if they just don't work in smaller groups. The Pixie is an actively detrimental townsfolk. I don't understand why this character is a townsfolk. If this were an outsider, they'd be like acceptable. The Engineer is just too powerful. On most scripts, the Engineer can figure out some way to completely screw over the evil team. The Engineer can work fine on one demon scripts, and that's where I think it's fun. But other than that, the Engineer is quite simply too powerful to fit on any scripts. At 110, we have the Bounty Hunter. The Bounty Hunter is a cool idea for a character. The problem is that oftentimes the Bounty Hunter can just be detrimental for the team, detrimental to neutral, and that's just not good. And that's it for D tier. I don't think there's many bad Blood on the Clocktower characters. However, these are the worst of the worst. I've put some of these on scripts before, but in general, I think that most of these characters are either hard to run, ineffective, or require things that should not be in the game, like dexterity checks. On to C tier. At number 109, we have the Zombool. The Zombool, in a lot of people's mind, is the worst demon that the game has ever designed, and it's not very good. I do like the Zombool as a player personally, and I think it's a lot of fun to play, and I think it's a lot of fun to have on scripts, but it simply makes games take far too long in a version that already has games take really long sometimes. The Zan is a cool idea for a character. However, I just don't like how it functions. There's something off about it. I also think that the fact that it doesn't require math, but it requires people thinking too mathematically for me to want to include it any higher. Monkey! Oh! The Jester is 106th. I think the Jester is a cool idea for a character, but in a lot of ways, it doesn't function in many scripts. It does so much and so little at the same time. There's just something about this character that I don't like including them on any scripts. The Evil Twins are actually a really cool character, and it sucks that I have to put them this low, but newer players, and even many advanced players, do not know how to play the Evil Twins in a fun way. If you have a group that can play Evil Twins fun, this is like an S tier character. They are so much fun, so cool, but most people cannot do that. At number 103, we have the Soldier. The Soldier is not very fun to play, and that's the only reason it's down here. It's fine for game balance, it's fine for all these other things, and Soldier can be fun to play. I quite enjoy playing Soldier, but a lot of times the Soldier is going to be the drunk, or is just going to be not really effective or important the entire game. At number 102, we have the Good. I'm Gooding. I love this character so much, but the amount of minions that actually work with the Goon is 4 out of the 25, and so I just don't think the Goon is very good. The Acrobat used to be an outsider to show you how ineffective it is as a townsfolk. It is not the worst character in the world, and it works fine if you want to revamp Bad Moon, but I just don't like this character very much. It's too underpowered. The Barber is weird and funky, but I just don't like the way it works very much. That's it. The Politician. Politician is weird. It is a really weird character. I was considering putting it in F tier originally, or in D tier, I should say. But I think the Politician works fine. I think that many times the Politician is a little bit too eager to just be like, I'm gonna be evil now. And I think that storytellers need to make the bar the politician needs to like clear to win for the evil team to be much, much, much higher. However, I do still think the politician can be cool. It's a good way to create chaos in certain scripts. The Sailor is number 98. The Sailor is kind of a do-nothing townsfolk. It's like a soldier, but they can't die during the day. But I just don't fucking like this character. I don't think anyone's gonna be, oh no, V, you put the Sailor in 98. That's my favorite character, V. Why would you do this? Like, nobody's gonna say that. The Snitch is gonna be number 97. The Snitch just sucks to get in the bag when you're an outsider. You get the Snitch token, and you're like, fuck me. Like, I can do nothing. I have no abilities during the game. All I've done is give the evil team a boon to start the game. It can be fine as a balancing tool, and I think it just sucks to play. It's fine on all the other elements. I like the icon a lot. I think that's really funny, but it does suck to play. The Professor is going to be number 96. The Professor is just too hard to balance. Like, the Professor doesn't really function on any script that doesn't have the Shabalot. Those are the only two revival characters, and they both kind of don't work together that well to mask each other. There's a third revival character. Both these characters would shoot up the tier list immediately because I like both of them a lot. It just isn't what it is. The Recluse is another character that sucks to play, but is great for game balance. It's going to be here at 95. Nobody likes getting the Recluse token, but I like putting the Recluse token in the bag, and that's what really matters in the end. The Devil's Advocate is a really cool concept and can be played really well. However, oftentimes all the Devil's Advocate leads to is games taking longer, and I am not a fan of that. Especially on Bad Moon, which is already the longest script for a lot of other reasons that are inherent to its design. The Devil's Advocate can be cool and can be fun, but oftentimes just leads to double tapping and games taking longer. The Princess is weird. The Princess is one of only a few characters on this list that I have not actually played a game with. Call me a fake fan, I know. However, I think that the Princess is too hard to fulfill its condition, and it does nothing on the second day. And I don't know. I don't think that that's a great design. I think that having abilities where they are hard to use at all, and then if you don't use them, you just become a literal nothing character, isn't good. The Marionette is fucking awesome. I love putting this character on scripts. However, the Marionette is the worst minion in the game. The Marionette is the only minion in the game that kind of helps the good team, or at least doesn't really do much. The only value of the Marionette is if it's on the script. But the problem is that if it's never put in the bag, people will not trust that they're the Marionette. And if it's put in the bag, then the evil team has basically one fewer minion. So as much as I like the Marionette, it's going to have to go at 92. The Hatter. The Hatter is cool. I think it's a really great punishment. I think it's all these other things. There are two reasons the Hatter's down here. First of all is that I think people don't play the Hatter very well because they don't see its downside as being that severe. And secondly, is I just really hate this icon. This is my least favorite icon in the whole game. It's aesthetically kind of pleasing, but I hate the fact that it's just 3 other icons from the game plastered together. Making me mad, you could even say. Mad? Like the Mad Hatter? The Assassin is going to be number 90. The Assassin is a great character for the Bad Moon Rising script, but cannot really fit on any other script that doesn't have multi-kills, and is just a hard character to utilize. The Pacifist is going to be at number 89. I like the Pacifist. I think that this character is great for game balance, great for a lot of other things, but being the Pacifist isn't very fun because you don't really get to participate in the conversation, because you just need to be as quiet as possible and let your ability work. And if your ability triggers like once, you can be like, hey, that was me. Or not, and it's not very good. The Exorcist is going to be at number 88. I think the Exorcist is a great designed character. However, there needs to be other reasons why the demon didn't kill that night. And oftentimes there is not, and so the Exorcist is going to be at number 88. The Banshee is going to be at number 87. The Banshee, honestly, is design-wise probably the worst in this tier. Being able to nominate twice is like a nothing ability, and voting twice is cool, but not super effective. Being able to get killed the first night and have like a virgin type clear is cool, but really that's not the biggest thing. The big reason I like the Banshee is that when you vote, you put both your hands up like the Banshee, and I think that's really funny. Number 86 is the Tinkerer. The Tinkerer is funny as fuck and actually has a great usage with other characters, but the problem is that the Tinkerer will oftentimes come out immediately as the Tinkerer, and then it's like, okay, I guess I won't kill you for this whole game, so you're like, you just have no ability. And that's not very fun. But you can do some funny stuff with it, and it works really well with the Hermit, even though I don't like the Hermit. The Librarian is at number 85. The Librarian is the worst of all of the first night roles, and while it is not the worst role in the game, Librarian is not very fun to play in most cases. It is only really fun with high detriment characters like the Sweetheart. Lord of Typhoon is going to be at number 84. I like Lord of Typhoon, but I do not like the fact that you have to tell people that they have new characters. It makes the first night take too long. That's literally the only reason it's down this low. The Gossip, and I'll just reveal the next one, the Juggler, are at 82 and 83 respectively. Both these characters are cool, however, the fact that everybody should buff as them every single day makes it take so long and is really annoying, and that's the reason they're going to be this low. Next, we have at 81, the Scarlet Woman. The Scarlet Woman is the new player trap. This character looks so cool and so fun, but as you get to more and more advanced scripts, it's just not as playable or useful. It still functions just fine. It's just not an interesting character. At number 80, we have the Mastermind. The Mastermind is an awesome character, but you need to have enough reasons why there wouldn't be a person to die that night. So as cool as a Mastermind is, it's going to go at number 80. At number 79 is the Hermit. I love the Hermit. I wish I could put this thing higher. However, the fact is that there's just too many configurations of characters that make the Hermit literally not function, and that's just not good. At number 78, we have the Poe. I think the Poe is awesome. I really like the icon. I think it's a very fun character to play with. I'm going to be playing with it later today. Don't tell my play group. But as fun as the Poe is, I do think that there are some minor problems with it, specifically that it is too powerful for a lot of smaller groups, and it doesn't really fit on any scripts that aren't multi-kill scripts already, because killing 3 players is just never really understandable in a non-Poe world. The Cult Leader is going to be at number 77 and the last one in this tier. The Cult Leader is actually a lot of fun and a lot of fun to play with. However, it does become a major conversation point and can take up too much time and be a little bit finicky. So as fun as it is, it's going to stay here at 77. And that's it for C tier. C tier is a bunch of characters that work fine, but are truly not the greatest designed characters that this game has to offer. This game has so many amazing designs, some of them have to be lower than others, and I would say that every design in C tier is acceptable, but not amazing. Now on to B tier, which is all of the middle of the road designs. At number 76, we have the Widow. The Widow is cool and is fun, but it is way too overpowered. In so many cases, the Widow just immediately can win you the game, or the information provided by it is simply too powerful. As fun as the Widow is, it's going to have to go at 76. At 75, we're going to have the Virgin. The Virgin follows in the exact same path as the Widow, where it is just way too powerful. I think the Virgin is the most powerful character in the entire game. And because of this, it has to go kind of middle of the road. As insane as it is, it just cannot go higher. The Courtier is going to be at 74. The Courtier is really cool and is really fun to play with. However, the Courtier must have a 4-demon script to function in an acceptable way, and oftentimes is either too powerful for a script or just cannot make sense and hard clears the Courtier immediately. The Tea Lady is going to be at number 73. The Tea Lady is a lot of fun and really cool to play with, but player surviving execution doesn't really happen all that often, so you need a script specifically about this. This is once again the Bad Moon problem. The Chambermaid is going to be at number 72. Chambermaid is really cool, and I like its ability, but it's a really powerful information ability. And I think it's a little bit too powerful on the first night. Editing V here, I just realized that the Chambermaid does not register the evil players that wake up the first night, because it's not to their own abilities, it's because they're evil. I've been playing this character wrong for a while. We're going to deal with this later. At number 71, we got the Pit Hag. The Pit Hag. I'm the hag of the pit. Pit Hag. Ugh. Next up, we have the Puzzle Master at number 70. The Puzzle Master is a really cool character to have in the game. However, they're weird and really detrimental oftentimes, so they're going to stay down here at 70. Next up, we got the Kazali at number 69. Nice. The Kazali suffers from the Lord of Typhoon problem, where I have to go around on the first night and tell people their new roles. And even though those people are usually happy about it, it takes too long. The reason the Kazali is so much higher is mostly because of the fact that I think it's really funny to see who people choose to try to metagame against the Kazali. I think the Kazali is also a lot of fun as a one-demon script, so you can try to figure out, oh, I think this person's evil, I think that person would have chosen that person. It turns it into a more psychological game, but ultimately the Kazali still has these problems and is going to go at 69. Number 68, we have the Night Watchman. The Night Watchman is really cool, except for the fact when you choose an evil player, and then it's like, okay, I'm fucking just gonna be detrimental this game now. Or gonna be at least, like, neutral to not useful. And that's kind of obnoxious. Number 67, Master! We have the Witch. The Witch is a greatly designed character, but is super conformable the second the Witch triggers, so it's going to have to stay this low. At number 66, we got the Farmer. The Farmer is great. It hard confirms players to other players, which is cool. Ultimately, though, the Farmer struggles from the fact that it does nothing and receives no information. And as perfectly designed as it is, a character that receives no information and basically does nothing except for hard confirm themselves is not going to be very fun. At number 65, we have the Clockmaker. The Clockmaker is cool. It is a kind of fine information ability. I got nothing else to say. The Centivarius is going to be at number 64. The Centivarius is fucking awesome and works perfectly on the script it's on. However, we need a Madness Demon. Add a Madness Demon, please. Number 63, we have the Gambler. The Gambler is wonderful. I think it's a really well-designed character. However, once again, it struggles from the Bad Moon problem, where if a bunch of people aren't dying on the script, Gambler isn't going to be very hideable. Number 62, we got the Minstrel. The Minstrel is great. The fact that you can basically hard confirm that the person you executed was a minion is great. However, a lot of times people just kill the Minstrel immediately, and I think people don't play with it adequately. In a high-level group, I think the Minstrel is an S-tier character. It is basically perfect. However, most people do not play the Minstrel well enough. Number 61, we have the Knight. The Knight functions really well on certain custom scripts. I love its interaction with the Vortox. However, the Knight doesn't really do a ton, and its information provides actually quite little information for the game, so it's going to have to stay at 61. The Vortox works perfectly with the Knight. I love this character. However, it simply does not function on a lot of scripts. You need high information scripts for the Vortox to be acceptable, and even then, the Vortox is simply just too powerful of a demon to work on almost any script, unless you specifically design it around the Vortox, and then other demons don't work on it. As much as the Vortox is super cool and super wonderful, it cannot go any higher.
We're gonna do a little dance break.
We're gonna do a little dance break. I'm
We're gonna
dancing
do
right
a little
now.
dance break. Back to you right now.
At number 59, we got the Fortune Teller. Fortune Teller is just the prototypical really strong information character, and it works great, and it's totally acceptable. Doesn't do anything amazing, though, so it's going to stay at 59. At number 58, we got the Spy. I'm sneaking around. The Spy is way too powerful for most scripts. However, whenever it fits on a script, it functions great. It's a lot of fun for the Spy player, and though I don't like picking up the Grimoire each night to walk it over to them, you know, I'll let it slide. That was my slide whistle. The Mayor is going to be at number 57. The Mayor is actually way more powerful than I thought it was. This summer, I had a player named Jake who was really good at playing the Mayor and got like 4 separate Mayor wins. So the Mayor is actually way more powerful than it looks. However, it still suffers from the fact that oftentimes I have to choose whether or not the Mayor win goes through because the demon will start trying to kill the Mayor, and it's just up to me whether or not the Mayor dies. And I don't like that. At number 56, we got the Villain Idiots of the Village. I Village 1. I Village 2. I Village 3. Wee. It's French people. And the Village Idiots are fun. However, the Village Idiots suffer from the problem that if all 3 of them aren't in the game, they become quite underpowered. And if all 3 of them are in the game, then it doesn't really free up many other slots for other characters. The Village Idiots are a great idea in concept, and in execution they can and often are fun. However, because of this significant downside, they are held back. And that's it for B tier. As you can see, not a whole lot of characters that are acceptably designed. Clocktower is full of characters that are acceptable to below average, to characters that are perfect in many ways. And that is going to be A tier and S tier, starting now. At number 55, we have the Baron. The Baron creates a lot of fun gameplay scenarios, and a lot of new players hate the Baron. However, the Baron is actually one of the most fun minions in the entire game. You're just wrong and need to get good. At number 54, we have the Klutz. The Klutz does the perfect thing for many outsiders, and many outsiders you're going to see in these upper tiers, where instead of being kind of a nothing character where you can't do anything, you have a mini game contained to yourself that if you lose has a significant downside for the team. At number 53, we have the Ojo. The Ojo is quite fun, however, does struggle from the fact that I think it is the power-wise worst demon in the entire game. As much as the Ojo is fun and is a cool design, it needs some other buff or some other power to become better. At number 52, we have the Fisherman. The Fisherman is greatly designed. However, it does struggle from the fact that it is so open-ended, and also people will come to me on the first day and say, "Hi, I'm the Fisherman, give me information." And I'm like, bro, I don't fucking know. Suck your shit. At number 51, we have the Shiganja. The Shiganja is very, very powerful, and has been far too powerful in the past. However, as of now, the Shiganja is a acceptable information ability, kind of like the Clockmaker, but I like the icon the most of almost any in the game. Number 50, we have the Sweetheart. The Sweetheart is another one of those outsiders that has a minigame contained to themselves, whereas this one, they just don't want to die. However, the Sweetheart, that's really it. There's no however. Flower Girl is at number 49, and the Flower Girl is really obnoxious to play because you have to fucking keep track of who's voting for what and when, and most days, every single player votes. However, the Flower Girl is a powerful information ability and can solve games in a way that other characters cannot, so it's going to stay here. The Poisoner is going to be at 48. The Poisoner is another one of the most powerful minion abilities, actually. A lot of new players don't see it as such. However, the Poisoner is horribly, horribly overpowered and way too strong for a lot of custom scripts. However, ultimately, the Poisoner is going to stay here at 48 because as fun as it is and as powerful as it is, they're better guys. The Grandmother is weirdly this high because double death scripts are rare. However, I think the Grandmother does double deaths in a way that no other character does really, really adequately, and I really like that. At number 46, we have the Dreamer. The Dreamer is just a fine, cool information ability, and I like it. That's it. Number 45, we have the Innkeeper. The Innkeeper is ultimately way too powerful on 99% of scripts. However, on the script that it originates, it is basically perfect. At number 44, we have the Preacher. I like the Preacher a lot. I think this is a really, really cool character, and I like the way it interacts with many of the minions in the game. It does have the downside of sometimes minions will get their ability stolen night one, and they're just like, I have no counterplay to this, and I can't do fucking anything for the rest of the game. Number 43, we have the Steward. The Steward is just an acceptable information ability. There's really nothing more to that. It's cool. That's it. The Empath is a great little mini game of choosing whether or not to reveal night one because you'll get new neighbors or in the future. However, the Empath is often not trusted enough, and I think that this leads to the Empath oftentimes coming out with their information, killing with their neighbors, and then they die. At number 41, we have the Ravenkeeper, and 40, the Sage. These characters both function very similarly, so they're going to stay right here. I think that they ultimately have a great mini game of trying to convince the demon that they are an important role and not their role. However, oftentimes, once these characters come out, they are immediately killed, so they cannot go any higher. Number 39, we got the Washerwoman. The Washerwoman is a well-designed character. It does all the normal things. What do you fucking want from me? These are all good. I'm not cheesing yet. Number 38, we got the Seamstress. The Seamstress is kind of odd because you have to choose when to use your ability, and I think a lot of new players don't play this character very well. However, for a lot of advanced players, this is unbelievably powerful as an information ability and ultimately quite fun as a result. Number 37, we have the Summoner. The Summoner was a weird one to place because ultimately it depends on what demons you have on the script, how well your playgroup functions with this character, and a number of other things. However, I do think that the ability for this character to have incredibly fun individual moments of gameplay lands it at the 37 slot. At number 36, we have the Town Crier. The Town Crier is a lot like the Flower Girl. However, I think the information it gives is more interesting, and I like the icon a lot better. I don't like the Flower Girl icon very much. Number 35, we have the Chef. The Chef is a fine, cool informational ability. It can provide a lot of information. I think the Chef is a lot more fun in large groups, as in small groups, it can provide too much information way too fast. At 34, we have the Harpy. I made this list a while back. However, I went back and updated it when I played more games with many of these characters, and the Harpy was the character that moved up the most. I originally read the Harpy and thought that this character would not function very well and be very obvious, and even though this was kind of the case when we played with it, it did end up leading to a fun gameplay experience, so it's going to remain here at number 34. Number 33, we have the Investigator. The Investigator is the highest win rate character to bluff as the demon, and is very, very, very powerful and very cool. However, it can't go any higher because it's too powerful, and I don't know. All these characters in this area are good, but not great. At 32, we have the Vigor Mortis. The Vigor Mortis is a character that I've actually played with very, very little, even though I do like it, because you need to have a lot of players in a game for the Vigor Mortis to be enjoyable. That being said, every game I played with the Vigor Mortis has ended very well, actually, and so it's going to remain here at 32. 31, we have the Noble. The Noble is oftentimes detrimental for the good team because it just gets all 3 of those people killed. However, the Noble is still quite cool, and we'll be seeing more play in my group. 30, we got the Monk. A lot of people hate on the Monk. I actually think the Monk is fucking awesome. I think it really provides a lot of game balance. It allows certain roles to come out way sooner than they should be and incriminate people and provide evidence. And yeah, I think the Monk is great. And number 21, we have the Godfather. Listen, my boy, it's a good character. Maybe a double kill, but it is the best of all of the double kills. And it can be fun even on those not scripts when the people want to keep themselves secret. Number 29, we have the Godfather. Very quite good. Number 28, we got the Artist. The Artist is super creative and super cool, and people use it great. What more do you want from me? Number 27, we have the Mathematician. The Mathematician only works on high information and high misinformation scripts. However, when it's on those scripts, it is super pivotal, super cool, and super fun. Number 20. No! I skipped one! No! At 25, we have the Snake Charmer. The Snake Charmer is quite fun. It's a great designed character. It creates a very personal and sub minigame, I guess, in a way that many other characters do not. However, it does this one better than all the other characters, and so it's going to remain here at 25. At 24, we have the Oracle. The Oracle is great. It feels like it's on the wrong script, but it is cool. It is functionally a better Undertaker, but that's really it. At number 23, we have the Nodashi. The Nodashi is really cool, and you can make a lot of good custom scripts about it. The Nodashi is also one of the demons that works best as a single demon script. This all being said, the Nodashi does have problems, mostly that once you figure out it's a Nodashi game, in a lot of scripts, it immediately ends the game, and also that it's simply not as powerful as the other demons on the script it's on. At number 22, we have the High Priestess, and the last character in A tier. The High Priestess falls into an amazing group of characters which are vague information abilities. And these are not only fun for the players, but for me, they're great for game balancing. They can do everything really well. So it's going to be here at number 22. And that's it with A tier. A wonderful tier of characters. These are all well-designed characters that don't break into this S tier of characters that transcend the game design and just make this game what it is and as amazing as it is. At number 21, we have the Lunatic. The Lunatic, the Mute, the Drunk are all going to be in this tier as the best outsiders in the game. These outsiders all personify the value and fun of these outsiders, and as fun as all these characters are, they are sometimes unfun to play. The Lunatic is likely the most fun to play of them. However, the Lunatic doesn't work very well with game balance, and so it's going to be down here at 21, even though it is fucking awesome. Number 20, we have the Balloonist. The Balloonist is one of the only information roles in this tier, and it simply is here because of that cheeky little +1 outsiders, or +1 to +0 outsiders. That variant allows many, many cool interactions and things to happen, and up to 4 outsiders, which can just make games great. Number 19, we have the Fearmonger. The Fearmonger, in terms of gameplay, is cool, but not amazing. The only reason the Fearmonger is here is because of that moment on the first night. Everyone's sleeping, they're all quiet, and you just hear, "The Fearmonger has chosen!" And then everyone goes back to sleep. And it's just so much fun. And that's why it's here. Number 18, we have the Undertaker. The Undertaker has such a clean, simple, effective ability that just really makes games great. 17, we have the Saint. The Saint is weird in this tier. Many players do not enjoy playing the Saint. However, I think the Saint is very fun as a little mini-game. I love those mini-game outsiders where they just need to convince everyone, hey, I'm the fucking Saint, don't execute me. And as the game goes on, that problem becomes harder and harder and harder. Number 16, we have the Wizard. The Wizard is great. It's super fun. It works really great. The only reason the Wizard is this low is because it requires a lot of balancing on my part, and sometimes I can mess up or do things wrong, or sometimes I don't provide an equivalent exchange enough. The Wizard is just hard to play with. Number 15, we have the Goblin. I've included the Goblin in 3 games I've played, and the Goblin has won 2 of those games. The Goblin is not that powerful of an ability, I don't think, but it seems that it's going to be more powerful than I thought, which makes it this high and this cool. The Goblin has one of the best icons in the game, if not the best. It is funny. It works so well. Yeah. Number 14, we have the Damsel. The Damsel is my favorite outsider to play because the Damsel cannot reveal their ability and really doesn't want anyone to figure out. And so oftentimes as the Damsel, you will have to bluff someone like the Fortune Teller, all these things until the demon kills you. And number 13, we have the Slayer. The Slayer is the single funniest character in the entire game. However, it can have many problems with balancing. It's good at eliminating worlds in the same way the Alhazir is, which is also in this tier. However, the Slayer can provide some unfun gameplay experiences, and so that's why it's not at the very top of this list. At number 12, we have the Savant. The Savant's only minor issue is the fact that I have to come up with things sometimes that takes a long time, but other than that, it's great. It allows people to come meet with me privately. I get to talk with people. Oh my god, they want to be my friend! And ultimately, the Savant is quite cool. Number 11, we have the Imp. I'm imping it! I'm imping it. I'm imping it. This is the classic character. It is super effective at what it does, but it doesn't really go any higher than this because as fun and as cool and as simple as it is, it doesn't do anything that makes it even higher. Number 10, we have the Al-Sahir. The Al-Sahir is one of those characters that is actually incredibly powerful once you know how to play it. And this is because people think of the Al-Sahir ability as mostly a win con, and that's not what you should think of it as. What you should think of it as, let's eliminate this possibility from happening. This player is corroborating this player's information. I think that that's the demon and the minion, right? And once that happens, it does that. The only problem with the Al-Sahir, and the reason I question it being this high, is that people oftentimes say it, like everybody in the group starts saying it, but it's a worthy sacrifice for such a good character. At number 9, we have the Mutant. The Mutant is basically the drunk and the lunatic. It causes people to fake being other roles. The Mutant can cause problems by having double deaths, but in general, the Mutant is quite fun. At number 8, we have the Lycanthrope. The Lycanthrope is the most interesting character in S tier because it dominates the game the second it is in play. However, there are some minor issues with the Lycanthrope, like how the demon loses some agency in the game and other things like that restrict it to number 8. Number 7, we have the Leech. The Leech is one of the funniest characters in the game because you'll have scripts where there's no reason for anyone to survive execution besides the Leech, and then eventually the Leech gets executed, and they just have this big fucking grin on their face for the rest of the game. They're like, fucking figure it out, bitch. Figure out why this is happening, or who my little drunkard is. And I think it's a lot of fun. Number 6, we have the Drunk. The Drunk is sometimes unfun to play, and that's the only reason it's not the greatest character in the entire game. The Drunk is so much fun for the group. It is good for balancing. It's got a great icon. It's got super fun functionality. A lot of new players don't understand how it works and bluff the Drunk, and it doesn't work, and that's awesome. At number 5, we have the Amnesiac. The Amnesiac seems like a character that would be obnoxious to play, however, is not. And everybody I've played with it says they love it. It creates so many opportunities. It creates opportunities for me to test new characters, which is awesome. And so it's going to be here at 5. At number 4, we have the Puka. The Puka is really cool. It is just one of the best demons in the game. I think it's the second best demon. It functions super well. Once you figure out it's a Puka, its whole gimmick goes away, and it's just perfect in that way. At number 3, we have the Fangu. The Fangu is the best demon of the game. That little cheeky +1 Outsiders is so fun. Its ability to jump. Outsiders immediately are like, oh my god, my role is so much more important now, and it's going to stay here. At number 2, we have the General. The General is by far the best of the small, weird information roles. It is so fun to play the General. It's going to be here at number 2. And the drum roll, please, for number 1. Boop. The Ogre. The Ogre is the most fun character in the game. The Ogre is really fun to play. It's fun to have in play. It's fun to bluff as. It's fun to have on the script. I like the icon a lot. I like how it personally plays. The Ogre is basically perfect in every way, and I believe is the best character in Blood on the Clocktower. And there you have it, the complete tier list of every single character in Blood on the Clocktower ranked on how much I like them. If you got any questions or thoughts, please share them below. I want to talk about this game more, and yeah, have a good day.